together, grab some food, and just munch a little bit while we listen to, can I get a drum roll? Oh, thanks. Our Creek and Muscogee elder, William Harjo. Yeah, we're so lucky. William has traveled far and wide to be here with us tonight, and is also going to be performing in the evening performance as well. So, a little bit about the art of activism. It is a discussion and a dialogue that takes us beyond the art. So, with whatever show or performances or community events that we're exploring, there are themes within that that we need to take it a little bit further. It's what happens after the show? What happens after the event? How do we take these themes and these topics and go out into the community, really put our feet to the pavement and make some changes? So it starts here. It starts with discussions, and that's how Art of Activism began. And we like to share meals and different cultures as well. Sometimes it'll be a potluck. Today we get to try some delicious fry bread. If you haven't already got a chance to try it, yeah, come on in, come on in. If you're here for Art of Activism, find a seat, or if there's some standing room, that's okay. So today's Art of Activism is us really diving into some of the misinformation about Native and Indigenous cultures and modern day society. Because they're here, they're present, they've been here, and some of us don't really know as much as we should or we want to know. We're more curious. So we have an intimate opportunity to really listen to our elders and ask some questions. So William's going to tell us a little bit about his culture, growing up, and where you see the future. Yeah? Yeah. All right. So let's give it up for William. And these are for sale. This is the artwork for the book, American Sundays. Yeah. It's pretty cool. All right. My boss told me to mention that. All right. Go ahead.
Thank you. And once again, my name is William Harjo, and I'll tell you, it really feels good to be called an elder.
Yeah.
Really, because there's a difference between elders and elders. And I'm glad I'm not recognized as an older. I think elders are kind of like supportive of the community and trying to share and reach out to people, and I'm glad I'm in that category. Thank you again.
Of course, Mado.
And anyway, we're called, there's a lot of misnamers for my people. One, they call us Creeks. And our language base is Muscogee. And anyway, first contact with Europeans, they come into our area and they realize that our tribal towns were located on creeks. And so they put their brilliant minds to work and they said, oh, they live on creeks. They must be Creek Indians. So that's where we got the name Creeks. And that's like two misnamers right there. One is they call us Creeks. The other one is they call us an Indian.
Mm-hmm.
And they call us an Indian because of a man didn't know where he was going when he left home. Didn't know where he was when he got here.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't know where he had been when he got home, you know. Well, what I've got to say about that is I'm just real grateful he was not looking for turkey. Yeah, I might be called a turkey.
Oh, gosh.
But anyway, so much for that. I'm, like I said earlier in the arena, I've been through this COVID thing, and I'm not really quick on my feet right at the moment. So, is there anybody that has any questions or anything that'd like to ask me before I get going, so I can have a focus and direction to head this conversation, or is it just up to me?
Oh, there's a question.
Yes.
I wanted to know where you're from.
Where I'm from? Okay, originally I grew up in the state of Oklahoma, and that's because that's where Jackson, he took us from this area. This is my homeland. This very ground right here is ours. And I haven't seen the deed on it yet, so it might be rent due somewhere. But anyway,
I'm sure.
So, and he wanted to have more land for the people that was coming into America, so he forced us out. He came in and eradicated us like animals. And just took everybody, just pushed us all into alcohol. And so that's where my people are today. That's where our headquarters are. That's where our offices are. And today, it's like you got to get us out of the 18th century. We're in the 21st. And our chiefs today, it's more like heads of CEOs. We got some real brilliant people up there that's working for us and keeping everything going. And I can talk about the positives of that through some of the Muscogee people, like the Choctaws, for example. Like all the plastic ware that you use, like knives and forks and so on, like you get from McDonald's. They have a plastic plant in Philadelphia, Mississippi that produces a lot of that. And they also have a contract on all the PC work that's done on Ford Motor Company. And that's, for the dashboards on your Ford automobiles. And so, they got the contract on those. So it's not like we're just sitting around out here going, we were pretty bad. We moved on. We're trying to, and to start with, when we got forced relocated, we were moving right along with the new age, with what was going on in the world. We actually had mansions. We had plantations. And we also had slaves. And so it wasn't like, we weren't being productive. It's just that they wanted the land, so they came and took us. And what we've done, well, my tribe did, was we put the slaves into our tribal roles. And so if any of them, if there's any person that has a tribal, that can prove native blood, they're put on the rolls as a native Indian. And that's the way it's been with my tribe since the beginning. It's not like they had to come and say, you owe me this, because we've always been, sharing. And there's a lot of nations that just all came in and blended together too. Mm-hmm. And there's you can see some of the like there's a family in Alabama Cochades there in Livingston, Texas. Now they call themselves, last name is Celesti, and it derives from the word black people, Celesti. And so you can see the similarity in the name. And so those were the ones that came in, we all mixed together, and they became our people. So they're like 100% natives. Anyway, so we have a lot of what you call melting, or however you want to say it. And so we've never. Anyway, that's that's there in Livingston, Texas. And that's not the only tribe. There's a lot of other tribes where all the different races come together, and we all accept everybody, as far as I know. And we have a question? I thought I saw a hand go up. Yes.
So I really know more than anything about this, but I did see a petition in New York Times the other day from the Cherokee Nation, referring to the Newachota Treaty, saying that they were promised a representative seat
Well,
in that
Newachota.
treaty. And so I didn't know that, and like I told you earlier, I grew up right beside Newachota.
I don't think Newachota been able to prove that they have any blood lineage at all.
Okay.
And I also look at the Times. Guess what I saw the other day? A man from Florida. It says he's running for president. You can read more about him on page 26. Yes.
Can you speak at all on what's going on with the land in Oklahoma that was supposedly turned back to the indigenous people a couple years back, and you've got all these businesses and buildings and homes, but they're saying all that land is now.
Which part of Oklahoma? I don't live in Oklahoma, so.
I just didn't know.
Yeah. The only thing that that I know for a fact that happened is that the McGirt case, proving that our boundary lines for the creek people was a lot larger than what people thought. And so by moving the boundaries, what it did was it allowed a lot of the policing in area to go to our courts, our tribal courts, and like if I was to go speeding through this area, I have the options of going to my tribal court rather than the state court. And that's something that's, and the reason we have tribal courts and we have jurisdiction over our people in those areas is because after World War II, you know, after the code talkers, and we all helped America, you know, win the war, they said, well, these aren't bad people after all.
Yeah.
So rather than of our own choosing, they declared us American citizens. And we were within our own nations. We had our own, you know, just like any other country comes in but we had our own nations. And long as we're on our designated area, we can now have our own courts, our own judges, our own policing, our own laws. And so long as we're on our own land. And that's what we call sovereignty rights. And so it's been that way ever since then. So there's a lot of times that if you had a fraction with infraction like in Tulsa, there was times that you couldn't take your infractions back to the tribe and have your own judges take care of it. You had to have, you know, whatever Tulsa offered. But now, after the McGirt cases, we have a stronger voice in that area now.
Could you,
Go ahead, could you talk about housing in terms of on the reservation? Do you own the house and the land, or is it government housing? How
Well,
does that work?
Okay.
did everyone hear
Okay,
that
to start
question?
with, okay.
Could
Yeah,
you say
so
the question a little
The
bit
the
louder?
housing, because I know in different parts and different reservations in the United States, the housing is a government housing, that natives don't own the house, and so it's not kept up well, or it's not
Okay.
taken care of, and I'm not sure if that's the same case.
Okay, now that's not speaking for all the nations.
Right, that's what I wanna know.
Because the reservation it started after the 1900s, and what they did was that was for the Lakotas and Dakotas to keep them under guard. They came up with the reservation status, and that was to put them in a certain area where they could control the food going in, and that way, you know, they could actually have genocide
Right.
because they were in control of all of that. And that was because, and after that, well, before that, like my nation, we never lived on a reservation. We came in and we got land for the entire people, okay? And then the census taker, Samuel Dawes, came in, and he's the one that wanted to cut it all up and divide the land individually. You know, like you get, you know, 180 acres or whatever for each individual. And us, we wanted to keep it as a whole, like you say, but he kept pushing it and finally got it through. So once it got split up like that, our word wasn't as strong as you know, the non-Indians or whoever was in charge. So it was easier for us to lose our land that way. It made it be taken away. And because there's one that I have a problem with, I haven't really, I guess I should pursue it, is my grandmother's land. And unfortunately, my grandfather was an alcoholic. He was a moonshiner too, so he drunk his own stuff. Whatever, anyway, this one family that was pretty much taking over all the properties and lands in the community that I'm from, came up with that piece of property, and they took it to court and they got it. The only thing was, the signature on it didn't look right to the rest of the family, because my grandmother her last name was Davis, and she always signed it. Her name was Minnie Davis, and she always put now Simpson because her husband was Simpson, and that's the way she signed all her legal documents. This particular document only has Minnie Simpson on it instead of Minnie Davis now Simpson, and so that's the question that I have there, but I haven't been able to take it. And a lot of times when there's something like that that's taken to court, the judges don't want to sign off on them. And that's the truth, because what happened was in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a case in Kansas City, Kansas. And this was a Shawnee Nation. Now, there was a museum there that they wanted to take possession of because for economic gain they wanted to rebuild it into a gift shop and have it as a center for the Shawnee Nation. And so they took it to court trying to lay claim to it. And because it's located in Johnson County, Kansas, and right there in that area is called Mission Hills. Now, Mission Hill has all these fabulous $1 million homes in it, all upstate Avenue, all probably about 10 miles long, okay, and it's a real expensive area, and that's where the museum is at. And so, what they found out was, this old man Johnson, he came in, he wanted to show how slavery worked. So he took children, Shawnee Indian children, and used them as slave labor and built this museum. Or wasn't a museum, built this big mission. And after he built this mission, then he was showing people how it worked. He went on ahead and set himself up as a missionary, and he put into the federal government for property. And so the government deemed him the property. But what happened was he died 4 months before the paperwork come through for that property. And so it wasn't him, it was his relatives took that land and they took possession of it and they used that land. And that's where all the mansions and everything is. And legally you cannot give a dead man land. But in this case, that's the way it happened. And they proved it. And they showed all the legal documents and everything. Took it to court. And the judge wouldn't sign off on it because it would set precedents for Mission Hills. They said, well, you take this land, you can take this too, so I'm not going to sign it. And so there's a lot of cases like that comes up. And I think the Choctaw Nation still has an ongoing suit against the government for taking all the gold bullions out of Baton Rouge and confiscated it for Southern money when it wasn't Southern money, it was Choctaw's money. And that's still an ongoing suit, as far as I know, yes.
Could you talk about one of two things, either like some stories from your past of the Creek Muscogee Nation, or like the current status of the Creek Muscogee Nation and what they see moving forward, and
okay, well,
if there are reparations to be had, how we can help. So either tell us a little bit about your past, or tell us a little about the present and moving forward.
I thought I was doing good. Okay.
You're doing great. You're doing so good.
All right, I can get into some of the things that's happened to me.
Okay.
Let's see. Trying to figure out where I want to go first.
You can tell us about the Harjo name. It's
Yeah,
totally up to you.
Yeah, yes.
What brought you peace today?
Huh?
What brought you peace today?
What brought me peace today?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty much mellow nowadays. Nothing bothers me no more. Yeah. I'm one of these people now that when everybody says, oh, today's a bad day or whatever, I'm the guy that stands there with a smile. need a smile, I'll give you one of mine. There you go.
It's not.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it is, I got there in kind of a strange way. This was back when, I'll go back to when I was drinking real heavy. And I was ornery, I love cars. I love, you know, swapping out and putting bigger engines in the smaller cars and, you know, trying to outrun the police, the whole works, you know. One time they gave me a book, you know. I think I got like 7 tickets in one spot. But I lived through that, okay? And anyway, I had my little car I was restoring. I went down to the tire shop. The guy was a friend of mine, and we was just talking, you know, sharing beers and visiting. And this guy walks in and says he likes my car. Was wanting to know if I was interested in selling it. I said, no, not really. But anyway, he talked me into taking it for a drive. And he liked it. His dad come in and they got talking about it. And then next thing you know, my car's missing. And I never seen these people before. I didn't know who they were. My friend didn't know who they were. And so here I am, just, you know, my car's gone. Well, that happened like about 6:37 in the evening. Don't ask me how. About 1 o'clock in the morning, I was in that guy's bedroom. I woke him up.
Did you get your car back?
I asked him, I said, you want to see daylight? He said, yes. I said, that's all right, I want my car. Anyway, and my friend was over there. He shouldn't have done what he done to you. You know, you should take the TV, you should do something. I said, no, I don't want none of that. I was just angry. I said, I don't want none of that. And I just walked out of the house, got my car. That wasn't the end of it. I went down to the bar. I didn't have no money in my pockets at that time. I just went in, walked up to somebody. I don't know who it was. I said, you want your butt with? They said, no, they're giving me a drink right now. And I drank until my mind was like blanked out. And I don't know, I could have got beat up. I don't know. But anyway, next day I woke up and I had so much heart stuff in my body I couldn't even hardly move. And I told myself, you know, that's not right. I could be sitting behind bars for the next 20 years because of what I did last time. All it would have took was just that. You know, being in that guy's bedroom, stuff like that. I told myself then I better change my ways. I went for 13 years without a physical job. And so that had a big impact on me. Over. Yeah, I had enough, but quit. And that's the way it's been ever since. You know, now I'm fine with it. I can have a drink or two every now and then, but I don't take it past that. I learned what I didn't want to do. I didn't need. And so, yes, I'm sorry. I didn't need to.
I was curious if you could tell us about your flute and how you started playing music.
Okay. Now, that's another one of those hard cases. It's one of those things where I had a burnout on my job. After 12, 13 years of being sober, I got a job as an alcohol and drug counselor. And I ran that problem for about 8 or 9 years. I was a contract with Indian Health Service, and I ran the program. I had people working under me. But, you know, some of these places, you know, everybody's always looking for, you know, kind of like politicking or, you know, they got to fight, you know, so-and-so. Well, I was trying to keep myself all, you know, where I didn't bother anybody. I just did my job, did what I was supposed to. But everybody was always looking for something. And I got to where I felt like I was underneath the spyglass. And I was high profile because I was working with kids. I was working at the center. Anything that went on in Kansas City, they saw me on TV or whatever, and my face was well known there. And so, but I had a burnout. I had a heart attack, and then after the heart attack, and after the medicine I was on, maybe, I don't know, I said, okay, I'm walking away. I went to my job. I just didn't feel like going in. And I called the guy that was in charge of the Indian Center and said, hey, I said, I haven't had my vacation yet. I said, I want to take my 2 weeks vacation starting now. I said, I just don't feel good. I think anyway, I don't know if it was medication I was on or what. Program. And anyway, so I went on ahead and he said, yeah, we'll go ahead. Just come in when you can and sign some papers or whatever. I said, all right. I hung the phone up, sat there. I still didn't feel good. I got back up. Got back on the phone. I said, you know what? I really want to quit. So I think just this 2 weeks that I'm going to be gone, use that as my 2 weeks notice, and I'll come in and finalize everything in 2 weeks. He said, okay, if you want to do that, you can do that. I said, all right. I hung the phone up. About 10 minutes later, they hit me again. I called him back up. I said, you know what? I said, I'm just quitting right now. And so I quit my job. And my wife, she was having a stressful situation with her job too. She worked for the state. And so we said, okay, what are we going to do? I said, let's just get out of town. So we just packed up, moved all the way down to Livingston, Texas, where I live now. I had met some people from there, and so I said, well, they're not really Creek Indians, but they're a relative tribe. And my son, he was still dancing. He was in the 6th grade, and I still had to get him through school. So I said, okay, we'll just, I was sitting down there. I rented a little house out in the country, just sitting down there, and no job, no work, just drawing unemployment. The man I worked for before at the Indian Center was nice enough to let me draw my unemployment up. So I'm drawing unemployment. It's only source of income we got. I'm sitting down there in a rented house, and so I started going down to the creek, and there's a river cane there, and my son had a little river cane flute that someone gave him. So I modeled after it and copied it, and I knew how to do machine work because way before all this alcoholism and everything started back in another lifetime. I worked in machine shops, steel bed shops, welder, the whole works. And so, anyway, I know how to run machinery. So I brought these up. I'm making a few of them, and my friend, the one I talked about earlier, he came by, visited. So I'm checking on you. I want to see how you're doing. I said, I'm doing all right. We're hanging in there. He says, what you got there? I said, oh, some flutes that I'm working on. He says, they work? I said, yeah, they work. He says, why don't you take some with you to the powwow? My son's always going to the powwow. He was known as a dancer across the United States. It wasn't just in our neighborhood. He was on the books as like being second or third place or first, like in Haskell University, or he was like in Denver March powwow. He was, he was well known, because I had put him in all those spots. And so I went on ahead and said, well, okay, I'll take a few. I took a handful, went to a powwow, went to a round of vendors like we had today, and just asked them. I said, would you guys like to buy some flutes? They said, they work? I said, yeah. He said, who made them? I said, I did. I said, oh, okay. And they buy them from me. So I made my gas money. And then I went one place and this guy, Shoshone Danny, named David Evening Thunder, he came up and says, can you make me one like this? I said, sure. He says, how much you charge me? I said, how about $20 each? He says, well, I'll take 20 of them, and I'll be over at this powwow next weekend. So I made him the model that he wanted, plus I made a few extra for me. I delivered them, and then pretty soon I noticed that people liked my flute, so I started making them and my wife, she done a little craft, so we did a little stuff. So today it's expanded into the medicine bags I had on my table, and the flutes I had on my table.
Could you tell us a little bit about the origin story of the flute? You told our students at Midtown yesterday about that origin story, and I thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah, I will. Let me finish this. Just take a
Oh,
second.
sorry,
I'm
go
at the
ahead,
end.
go ahead, you're good, you're good.
So, ever since then, you know, I put my son through school, put him through college, and my house is paid for. And in 2000, I bought a brand new motorhome in cash that I drove around the country, and that was all from Eagle Guy, making flutes. That's all I've done since. And I was in my early 40s then, and I'll just say it's been over 30 years, and that's all I've done for a living. So you know, my name doesn't go through anywhere like Social Security or any of that. That's all. You know, and I've been to Europe 6 times as an entertainer. I've taken dancers over there before, so like a few months ago, I sold a flute of all places in Holland. Somebody called me up and said, I want one of your flutes, so I sent it to them. So it's taken a little while, but my name is getting where it's known finally. Yeah. And so that's pretty much where I'm at with that. You know, like I say, nowadays, I was lucky when COVID come around, house was paid for, no car payments. You know, my car isn't that new, it's like a 2015, but it's all paid for. Only got 60,000 miles on it, so I can't complain about that. So I'm all right with the finances and stuff, and I think it has to do with this. Yes?
A quick question, I'm just curious, and I'm sure the youngsters will be curious as well. The significance of the necklace, is that a concho belt and your feathers on your hair?
A concho belt? No, this here is a woven belt. And that's from finger weaving. And that's the kind of belt that traditionally my people wore. And then this part on my hair, okay, that's this is a traditional horsehair roach that my people wore. And what the roach is for is to indicate that you're a warrior. It's like your pet at home. You know, if you have a intruder come into your yard or whatever, your pet will get all excited, the hair on the back of the neck stands up. And that means he's ready for a fight, ready for battle, or whatever. And so, when a warrior put a head roach like this on, it indicates, it lets everybody know that he's a warrior. And this here's pretty much like in the arena, you saw all those dancers with the head roach on. And that's what they was. There was expression that they were warriors by wearing this. And it goes with all your nations have some kind of a headgear like this to indicate they're standing up. And when Lewis and Clark came through on their expedition, they went through Kansas City, and where it makes a right-hand turn and heads north, right there in that bend, the Kaw River runs right into it. And that's where they met up with a group of Indians they call Hurons. And it's a French word for meaning hair standing up. So when they came and met Lewis and Clark, they must have had their roaches on their hair pieces. And so anyway, that's what that represents is for a warrior. Did I get your question?
And the necklace?
The necklace? This one here came after the conquistadors come through our part of the world. This is made out of German silver, and you know the protective gear that they wore this here protects your vital organs like your sternum area. And that's what the gorget is. Like your, on some of the dancers today, you know, they had the bone pieces and it's called a breastplate, a chest plate. That's also kind of like came from that time. It was a protective gear for the kind of weapons we had back in those days, like the choker that people wear around the neck. And that's if someone attacks you, you know, it keeps somebody from cutting your throat because they'll protect you around your neck. And the breastplate is, you know, before gunpowder, it was a real good protective gear. And so that's what that was for. And that was before Janet Jackson got a hold of it and turned it into fashion. Okay. And what was it you was asking what?
Just the origin story of the flute.
Oh, okay. All right. Now this is a story that I made up.
Never mind. Next question.
And I used the River King flute in my story. A lot of it and so what happened was, like there's stories about, you know, how the flute came to be, you know, and so anyway, since I was making them out of river cane, and I've actually picked up river cane with woodpecker holes in it already that I can take and just blow across and get a sound. And so I initiated that into my story. And as my story goes, a long time ago there was a young man who had strong feelings for a girl. And no matter what he did, she would not pay any attention to him. So he went to an elder, or maybe the medicine man in the village, and told him about his feelings. And he was told, if you really have pain in your heart for this girl, you should go on a fishing quest. So this is what the young man was doing. He was out in the forest for 4 days and he heard strange sounds. We don't know what the sound was like. It could have been like this, like, if all we know, it could have been like this. And so he followed the sound and it led him to a place where some river cane was growing. And a tornado had come through and broke them in half. And as it was starting to dry out, insects moved inside and left larvae, which grew into little animals inside the decaying river cane. And now the wind spirit was coming along and passing through the holes and over the holes to make the sound. So the young man knew it was something special, so he took that piece of river cane and he was taking it back to his village. And as he was going back to his village, he started experimenting. Started blowing on the holes, trying to get the sounds, or making sounds. And as he was doing this, and by the time he got to his village, the young girl, she heard all the beautiful sounds. She couldn't resist and came to him. So that was the beginning of the first flute. At this time, I used it for the Lakota love song. Repeat as many times as necessary. Yeah, so there's all kinds of myths that I like to share with you. One of them is I guess everybody has something like little people. We have little people in our midst. And, you know, they have magical powers. And they're kind of like, other cultures have it too, you know, like leprechauns and like Menominee from Hawaii. Others we just call ours little people. But I was told when I was young that they had magical powers because for protection. The Creator gave them magical powers, but they were just little kids. And since they're little kids, they like to play with you like little kids would play. Like, take a little bug. Now, a little child might yank the leg off of the bug and watch it limp around on his hand. Now, he may be having fun, but the bug is. Or a butterfly, pull a wing off and watch it try to fly with one wing. Now, butterfly's not having any fun at all. But, so it's like they're having fun at the expense of the bugs and insects. And so, that's kind of like the way little people would like to have fun with you. Is what I was saying. And so, it was like, I might want to climb this real tall tree, and it wouldn't be me, it would be little people using their mind power, making me think I need to get up to a big tree. So they can have fun laughing at me after they push me out and I'm laying down on the bottom. Or they might make me think I want to cross this stream. And here I am out there trying to cross this stream, and they could push me in the water and have fun laugh at me when I'm trying to keep myself from drowning. And so that's how they would like to play this. And so I was always warned, watch out for the little people. And they even told me a story about this one little boy. He loved to play. He just liked to play and play all the time. And as he was getting older, he'd play all day and all night if he lived. And as he was getting older, his dad told him, he says, you're getting older, you're going to have to start doing adult things. You're going to have to grow up. You ever hear that? You have to grow up. But anyway, so, okay, this one. Okay, and so the little people came to him and said, if you go with us, you don't have to ever grow up. You can stay little forever. So he decided to go with little people. And so today, like if you're at a park or maybe in a mall, but you don't know anybody and you hear somebody holler your name, and you turn around, you look, you don't see anybody. Or you might see something flutter out the corner of your eye, you turn your head real quick. You don't see anything. They say it's forever, boy. We still out there playing with you today. That's one of the behavior modification stories. You better roll up. Okay. And my grandmother and I, this is a true story now. We're getting into the real stuff. My grandmother and I, well, I guess I got really upset because my mother was fishing right down the road and I wasn't invited. She was fishing with her friends. Maybe she didn't want to fish with a child hanging on her or whatever. So they locked up the house with me and my grandma. The house was locked. So I couldn't get out. And this went on through the day. On in the afternoon, my grandmother had to go out and feed the chickens. So she went out the back door, and she was out there feeding the chickens. I noticed it was open, so I opened the door, went out. I ran around the side of the house, going down the driveway, going toward the road, and I heard these big giant footsteps behind me. My grandma already had me picked up. Took me back in. So. And anyway, I must have really got upset because a few days later, I think, I was, one of the things that we did, this was the time when I couldn't speak English, I only spoke my own language. And so, this was real early in my life. And so, and one of our things was, we didn't have any running water or electricity in our little house. So, see, one of our things was to go down and bring water back to the house for, daily use, either drink or, wash our hands or, wash the dishes or, you know, as we needed it. So we bring a bucket of water in. So while we're on this little trail going down to get some water, you know, headed for the well, my grandmother, she stepped off the trail and stood over to the side, and she called over to me, Javon, hey Javon, I just did. She said, she was telling me, come here. So when I walked on over and stood next to her, she tells me, says, she's standing next to this little tree, and she says to me, you hit a stick. Look at this. And I turned around and looked at that little tree, and that little tree standing there with all the branches up like this, you know. And then so what she did was she reached over the top of it, brought her hand down, and touched it. And then it was almost instantly, I think, the tree started wilting. And she says, he did something. You see that? I said, he says, yeah, I see it. And then she says to me, Iliski in my language means angry, upset, mad. And it's like little bitty children display that behavior better than anybody. When you get them angry, it's like the lower them comes down. They're real stiff. You can't hardly get them to do anything at that point. You know. Sometimes they even sound like bugs. But anyway, so she was telling me that this plant did not want to be touched, or I realized it didn't want to be touched. And when she touched it, it got Iliski. That's what was standing there for that. Then she tells me, she says, Jimmy, on with us. I said, it's like you. She said, you've been getting Iliski too much. And you're going to have to quit getting Iliski, because if you keep letting yourself get Iliski, it'll turn into a sickness. And it'll grow up with you until you're a full-grown adult. And you'll have the sickness of Iliski. And people will take advantage of you. If they want you to give them something, all they do is make you Iliski give things away. Or if they want you to do something, all they have to do is make you Iliski, you do whatever it is they want. So it's not healthy. So you're going to have to quit getting Iliski, or we're going to have to pick all these plants here, and we're going to have to boil them, and then we're going to have to get this medicine man to come up here. And the medicine man is not cheap; he's very expensive, and we're going to have a ceremony to get rid of this sickness of Iliski. So I tried my best not to get Iliski anymore after that, because I don't know what the boiling water would do. I didn't want to risk it. But anyway, that's a true story that my grandmother shared with me. And that's probably why every day I'm in a good mood. But anyway, that's the way it is. Any more questions? I can do a few. Oh, I remember. My first day in Europe. My first trip to Europe. Okay. I'm traveling with some people, and we're going there to showcase my flutes. I had recorded some cassettes, so we're all going there, and I'm going to be an entertainer, and we're going to make this. I'm with a dance troupe, or with troupe, and I'm the flute player in this troupe. And anyway, so here we're going through these different countries, and we're going through a city by the name of Basel. And we came out of Germany, and we were traveling on into Switzerland, and we was going to be going on into Austria. So we're going through this big building, and each place we had to stop and show our passports and go through. And anyway, I had all these products with me. If I had suitcases, I'd been fine, but I had boxes. And so they knew I was carrying commercial or merchandise. So they stopped me for taxes. So here I'm having to pay for these taxes on this stuff, while the rest of my troops went ahead. And they went on to Rheineck, Switzerland. And finally, when I got myself situated where I could leave, I got on the train and I went to Rheineck, Switzerland. I got there 2-3 hours behind everybody. Unfortunately, I couldn't catch up with anybody. And I couldn't find anybody who could speak any English. So here I am out there at the train station. And I looked up the road. I see a neon light up there. So I take my suitcases, go to the neon light, went up a few steps, and opened the door. There's a band up there playing. It kind of looks like this place here. So I dragged my suitcases in, found me a table, and I sat down. I said, well, I'll have you a beer. Went over. I just took my ones out and said, tell me when to stop, you know. They said, okay. And they gave me change. I don't know what it was. They gave me some change, and I went to sit down. Had my beer. A little later, the band quit playing. So I'm sitting up there, and the band takes off. By this time, I got my second glass of beer, and I'm sitting there. And I look up there at the microphone, and I reach up. So I reached in my suitcase, got my flutes out, got my chair to set up, and just started playing. So here's all these people that couldn't speak English sitting there listening to my flutes. And I made a few presentations and stuff. I don't know if anybody understood anything. I just did my thing. And finally they got it across to me, we're closing. About 3 o'clock in the morning. So I grab my suitcases, go back out the door, go back to the train station. I look around, there's nothing there. I found me a great big old phone booth. Stuck my suitcases in it, sat on it. A couple of hours later, I was woke up by vendors coming in, opening up for the day. And I found somebody that could speak English, and they said, oh, you got all the country codes on there. You need to take away the first 5 numbers. Just call that. And they were only like 3 blocks away. But anyway, so I enjoyed myself. No harm, no foul. It was great.
Do you have any last words for us? And I would want to just open up the conversation to all of us to just start talking to each other about some of these topics. And we'll let you get some food and sit down and have enough time for us to all head over to the theater. Did you have anything more that you'd want to say to anybody, or?
I guess.
No? Okay. Any final questions for Mr. Harjo? No? Oh, sure.
Yes.
Thanks for sharing.
Oh, you're welcome.
And my thought relates back to the beginning of this discussion when we were talking about the court systems, the different courts that you can choose to go to when you get fined for something. And I'm thinking, obviously, I would assume people would choose to go to the tribal court.
Yeah, if they're a member of that tribe.
But I'm curious how these systems differ, like what is the fundamental difference in structure or the way the court system.
We would have to go by what our judge goes with. But, we have to go with the other judge, but we wouldn't sign off on the other thing.
Is it kind of similar, like there's a jury or
No, if it needs a jury, yeah.
it's kind of similar.
If it's, it goes into, straight from there into federal court, if it needs to be taken care of with a jury. It wouldn't be just the state that's taking the case over. We have the option to take it federal or state. And like I say, we can have the minor cases, we can have like our own judge decide.
So it's kind of like similar to American.
Yeah, and then the guidelines may be different because, you know, because of our past, our cultural differences.
Yeah.
You see, our judge may be lean more towards cultural rather than what's written in the law. So that would be our plus for having. Yeah. But, you know, whatever's illegal may not be illegal to us. It's like, one example is like, okay, for us, you know, it was okay for us to leave our child with this person who we deem was a real good friend of ours, and it's okay in our culture, and go to another town to look for a job, you know, that we needed. As to where the welfare agent might come in and say, these are not your children, I'm taking them. So by the time we get a job and come back, our children are in the system and already adopted out. And so that's to prevent those situations. Yes.
I was listening to your stories and there, it was wonderful, and the takeaway I got is the native culture. You were very happy just serving your own needs. And then all these people came in and they are very greedy about the land. It wasn't that we would not have coexisted together.
Yeah.
But just that we are all running after the greed versus needs. In the takeaway from the culture for all of us is, if you are satisfied with your needs, you are always happy. If you go after greed, you know, either the land or money, there is never ending. Today also the same thing is happening. So welcome back to your own land. And I think from here on it should coexist.
Yes, sir.
I was asking our dear friend right here, do other people in other tribes pray?
Just like here, yeah.
And
But it wasn't just the Creek people here today. We had people from New Mexico. We had people from South Dakota.
what do you like trade?
Present day or in the past?
Whatever you think is necessary for you. You know, like I might have an arrow, you might want it, but she may not want it.
And what is your spirituality like for your tribe?
What do you mean?
Do you like, you know, once your needs are met, you look for something beyond, like, you know, beyond like.
No, I'm happy with where I am. Yeah, it don't take much for me.
Well, let's all say thank you to Mr. Harjo. If you'd like to see Mr. Harjo perform this evening, I definitely believe that we still have tickets available, and now we just want to open up the dialogue to each other, some takeaways that you had, talk to your neighbor, talk to each other, and then once this is closing, feel free to go to the Wrecking Bar or head over to the theater. Sign up for our newsletter. We want to stay in touch with you. We want to keep this going forward. We want this to be an annual event in the community and in the perimeter. And so we're really, yes, did you have a question? No? Okay, all right. And feel free to talk to myself. Heidi, did you want to say some words or anything like that?
Very